Welcome to the Elder Law Growth Podcast. Nobody should pass away without a solid plan in place, and everyone should be able to age with dignity. That is why we are on a mission to help elder law and estate planning firms grow their practices online so that they can create a lasting legacy for families everywhere.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast. As always, your host, Dan Hafner here. Very excited and very thankful that you decided to join in again this week. Today's topic is this: limited time, start here. All right. So what we are going to dive into today is what to do if you are limited on time, right? Like if you are stretched for time inside of your business, inside of your practice, this is actually a very, very common thing, especially lately, but it always has been, right? When you build a business, when you are the CEO, the manager, whatever, the case might be, there's always a million different things to do, including consultations with clients and actual paperwork and filing and managing your team and doing marketing and sales and all this different stuff, right? So when it comes to figuring out what to do, like, okay, all right, we need to do something on social media. Like there's a million different things you can do. Or, hey, we need to update our website. Well, there's a bajillion things that you could do, right? So how do you cut through all of this noise and figure out just simple ways to, like, what's just one thing I can do? Right? Because when you could go out there and go down a rabbit hole, believe me, for all of these different, digital ways of, well, I want to do video, or I want to do Facebook. I want to do my website. I want to do live streams. I want to do all this different stuff. And there's no shortage of information and things to do out there. And this podcast might just be something else that's out there for this. But, in terms of whether you're trying to repurpose your online presence or upgrade it, or delegate it to other people. You have a new person that's come on, you want them to handle your social media or do some different things with you. What are some of the things that you can get them started on, right? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a website. Okay, we're going to talk about a website. We're going to talk about what to do inside of Facebook. We're going to talk about video, and then a little bit of blogs and newsletters as well. So we're going to start with website, right? Because this is the online face of your firm, of your business, of your livelihood, right? So when it comes to, maybe you already have an upgraded website, maybe you don't have an upgraded website, whatever the case might be. Obviously, if your website looks like it was built back in the 90s, you need to upgrade that stuff, and you need to figure out a way to go forward from there. That's just self-explanatory. But right, let's assume you have an upgraded working website. It was professionally built, or you have it, with another host or whatever the case might be. The first thing that I would highly, highly recommend, even if you are thinking about changing providers, is to get your website set up through WordPress. We've seen it time and time again. Websites that are not hosted through, or at least done through WordPress, just really don't perform as well. Like Google and the search engines of the world prefer WordPress. They are just, they're in together, or whatever the case might be. So really it's almost like you're penalized for not being on WordPress. It's not that you can't have a functioning website, that you can't have something that actually works. There's a whole bunch of different providers out there, but WordPress is the best. It's got the best speed. It's got the best features for building things. And then if you also want to bring in someone else to help do upgrades or build things, it's very, very intuitive, very, very simple. You can delegate that type of stuff out. So the second things we're going to do, right, is obviously like check your layout. Right? Check your story, check your layout of your site. Is it actually set up that's logical, that makes sense to people that come in and see you, whether they're in your community or they've never seen your website or whatever the case might be, right? So check your story, check your layout, just like your story we talked about in the last episode. Check your layout. If it doesn't make sense, if it's clunky, check it on a mobile browser. If it just doesn't appear right, those are things you want to fix too. And then the other important thing on a website is thinking about and mapping out your call to actions, right? Where can people actually click to make progress on your site? Is it a big learn more button or call now button, or is it a tiny little blue link that no one's ever going to notice, right? And is there only one on the page, or is there more? Is it where the eyesight goes? Is it like, there's a whole bunch of different things you can study inside of this, but the main thing to focus on is the call to actions, right? Are they visible? Do they stand out? Are they intuitive? And do they actually make sense inside of the website that you have set up, right? So those are just a couple of things that you can start thinking about, maybe check out on your own website, of things you could easily change and upgrade that would really, really help you very quickly. So the next thing I want to talk about is Facebook, right? So this is the ultimate one. We get feedback on all the time. It's like, well, there's so much to do on social media. Like, where do I start, right? And I think a lot of firms really just need to start with posting stuff. Like, it really comes down to just being that simple, right? When we take a look at new firms or people that we haven't worked with, one of the very, very common themes we see happening all the time is they just don't post. And there's, the last post is from pre-COVID times, or it's from 2018. That's, like it or not, like, people are going to look you up on Facebook. And if you don't have updated posts, even if they're just silly posts, right, or holiday posts, or whatever the case might be, it's very easy for people to just kind of assume that you're out of business or not really up on the social media game. And there's a whole strategy that goes into what to post, when to post, and how to post it. But ultimately, if you're not posting it all on your Facebook page, like, that's the easiest place to start. It really, really is. So if you already are posting regularly, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 times a week, whatever the case might be, making sure that your information is updated, right? The latest phone numbers, the latest address, the latest personnel, getting as many reviews as you can, making sure all of the links, everything is there. It's professional. It's up to date. It's because a lot of times people forget when they change a website or they change a link on their website to change it on their social media. So people are clicking things on their social media and they're going to an old page, or they're going to an old asset, or something that you don't want to give away or sell anymore. And it doesn't work, right? So literally going through and just making sure, like with a fine tooth comb on your Facebook page, that everything's up to date, everything's up to snuff, it's all good to go. And then it just comes down to being consistent. Now, there's a whole bunch of other tools out there like Hootsuite and Postoplan and like all these different things out there that you can look up. And I'll have resources for those in the show notes that, can have posts scheduled for you. So if you are a solo attorney and you don't really have the time to do this, it can be outsourced, and there's a whole bunch of different things that can be done. But ultimately, you got to figure out a way to post regularly. Okay. So now we're going to talk about video, right? So what are some quick things that you can do if you want to get into the video game? You're like, hey, we need to do some video. We need to have some video assets, do some video marketing, whatever the case might be, right? So one of the quickest ways to do this is to actually do stories on Facebook. Now, if you're raising your eyebrows at me, I can feel it through the microphone here. There are a couple of clients that we have that have really learned to employ Facebook stories, and they do it very, very effectively. And it's very simple. If you know how to use Facebook stories or Instagram stories or whatever the case might be, those actually get rewarded. Those get views, and those generate buzz. So even just making a very simple story, whether it's a quick video, they only can be 5, 10 seconds, something like that. That's a very quick way to show up at the very, very top of the news feed, for your clients or your potential customers, and get more organic reach on Facebook. So now if you want to do something like YouTube videos, you want to kind of go that route when it comes to video marketing. A lot of lawyers kind of are hesitant to do YouTube. And I really hate to see that, because YouTube is like free SEO, right? Like we'll talk about blogging here in a minute, but YouTube is something, it's almost like a gift to anyone doing business, right? Because you can record a video, post it on YouTube, and it lives there forever. Now, this can be a bad thing, obviously, as we see in this day and age, how that can be a bad thing. But in terms of business and making professionally sourced videos, this is a gift, because whenever somebody's searching for those types of things, and YouTube has algorithms, YouTube is owned by Google, right? It's the second largest search engine in the entire world. So having a presence on YouTube can really help drive your Google SEO as well. And it can help you rank in your area without really even knowing it. Like, it can really actually pay dividends. So, when it comes to YouTube videos, a lot of people stress about, it needs to be perfect. I need to be dressed up. I need to be in my suit. I need to, have all these, like the nice green screen background, all this different stuff. Like, I'm telling you, like, that's great. You can do that. It's fine, but it doesn't need to happen that way. People relate more to the type of selfie videos, right? The type of, hey, I just got out of my car, or I'm in my car, or I'm just walking around my office, holding my phone up, right? Those types of videos actually, believe it or not, can have a better view rate, can have more of a connection with your actual potential clients than a nice TV professionally looking video. And the cool thing about it is once you have these videos, they can be repurposed. You can post them on Facebook, you can post them on YouTube, you can post them on LinkedIn, you can post them wherever, right? So you only have to do the video actually once. And whether it takes you 5 minutes or it takes you 5 hours, I know this is based on like not having a whole lot of time, right? But videos can be repurposed, and all of the platforms out there are really, really rewarding, and they will continue to reward videos. So YouTube is actually a great, great resource. You can set up a channel for free. We can actually help you with that if you want help with that. It's a great, great asset. If you're not using it, you should be, right? So the two things we're going to kind of combine here at the end. Well, I'm going to do them kind of separately, but together as well, is blogging and newsletters, right? So, hey, you want to start a blog, you want to, start doing some SEO, get some things out there. What are some quick things you can do to just get a blog going, right? So there's a whole bunch of information out there on this one as well, but even just committing to writing a post once a month, just something once a month, that's 12 times a year, that's pretty doable. Now, you're not a creative writer, right? You might not be the most creative writer or the person that can actually put the right type of content inside of an online article. And that's great because there's a lot of resources out there. You can hire this out to have people do these for you, right? And what I encourage our clients to do as well is actually just go onto Google, right? Just pull up a browser in Google, search something on your own, and brainstorm ideas of what to write about. Just search for elder law articles, or how do I set up an estate plan, and see what some of the top links come up with. And then you can read those and you can see what they are and see the titles, and you can start, for a better lack of a term, we call it hacking, right? You start to figure out, okay, this firm posted about these 5 tips to estate planning, or these 3 things to do with your Medicare, or whatever the case might be. And then you can actually see how you can improve upon that article. You can make it longer, you can make it more content rich. Instead of the 3 tips, you can make it the 7 tips, right? And that is just naturally going to help boost that visibility of the article, of that actual blog post. So again, once it comes to writing this and getting this done, obviously blogs can be a very, very big time suck. So I highly encourage you to seek someone out, to seek out like a way to hire this out, or to have at least someone give you some feedback on something. But just committing to once a month blog posts can really pay huge dividends. And especially if you have your site on WordPress, because they're rewarded even more, and you can tie these in with YouTube, and there's ways that you can repurpose this content as well. It really helps you consolidate your time. Okay. So then finally, we're going to talk about a newsletter. So if you don't have a newsletter, or if you do have a newsletter, you can take this with a grain of salt, but some people prefer the weekly newsletter. Some people prefer a quarterly newsletter. We've had clients that do kind of all mixes and matches of this. Some do it every 2 weeks or a monthly one. Whatever the case is, whatever you do for your newsletter, if you already are doing one, just be consistent with it. That's the only thing you have to worry about. Be consistent. If you publish it every Tuesday at 11 a.m., publish it every Tuesday at 11 a.m. without fail. The more consistent you can be, it's almost like Pavlov's dogs, right? When you think about it that way, people become trained to know that that's what they're going to expect from you. And if you think you're publishing too much, in a weekly newsletter, I promise you, you're not. I actually encourage that, as a weekly strategy. Even if you do once a month, a bigger one, or a better one, more content rich one, but even just having a consistent newsletter and always giving a call to action in that, right? Giving links to your website, or links to, or putting your phone number out there over and over again, or links to a blog post, or links to your new latest YouTube video or your Facebook video, or whatever the case might be. Always having calls to action inside of that newsletter is key, because you don't just want to give somebody, a piece of content every week that they've just learned, like, this is just regurgitated information about something that has nothing to do with me, right? So consistently giving people something to do after they've consumed your content is a very, very big key, especially in the digital space, right? And that way you can also, if you integrate with any of the newsletter software out there, such as like MailChimp or Constant Contact, or whatever the case might be, you can have statistics of how many people open, how many people receive it, how many people click it, and then you can get insights into who your quote unquote hottest potential clients could be, or your most likely people. If you were to give a call or you receive a call from them, you know that they're actually looking for your service, and you could potentially make them a client in the near future, right? So those are just some quick hits of the top 5 things that we talked about here. Talked about websites, Facebook, the video game, not literally a video game, the game of making videos online, blogs, and newsletters. So these are just some quick hitters, just general ideas of things to think about, things to actually take action on when it comes to, if you are doing any of these, or even if you're not doing any of these and you want to incorporate these, they all can seem like, once you stack them on top of each other, I do a monthly blog, I do a weekly video, I do a weekly newsletter. It can be a lot. Like, it really, really can be a lot. So, if you would want any kind of help with this, obviously we could point you in that right direction. You can head to our website here in the show notes, and we could definitely point you in a way of hiring these things out, or figuring out if it's actually going to benefit you, or if it's something that you, as an elder law and estate planning attorney, can use to capitalize on, because it might not be worth your time. It might not be worth doing. And you only want to do the things that are actually going to help move your business and your presence forward. So nobody can do everything, but whatever you do, you got to do consistently, and you got to do well. Okay. So that is all we have for you. As always, you can head over to bambiz.net or elderlawgrowthpodcast.com for more information. And as always, please share the show, continue to tune in, and we'll talk to you all next week.